Oh yeah. Okay, okay. Let's get to it. Nature Mom, what's going on? What's going
Hello,
on?
hello. How are you?
Doing good, doing good.
Yeah, everybody is good out there, I hope.
Yeah, your mic
Yeah,
sounds really good too, man.
yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah,
Finally. Whew.
yeah.
Yes, it was horrible internet here last week, and I'm noticing this week there's a lot of rewiring happening. So I guess we weren't the only ones.
Oh, okay, okay. Rewiring
Yeah,
for upgrades. I hope. I hope.
yeah. It seems to be. Yeah. I mean, they're trying to put in fiber optics over here, so that'll be
Good,
nice.
good.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be nice.
I mean, we
You
should.
know.
I mean, yeah, they got all that money over there. They should.
Mhm.
So you sent me an article on Andrew Tate,
Mhm.
and so he's from. I think he's from Romania, right?
No, he's actually British born.
Mhm.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, he's a MMA fighter. That's how I know of him.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, kickboxer,
Right.
and that's when I first heard of him.
Okay.
Interesting. His true name is Emery Andrew Tate the Third, which
Okay.
is very astute name for someone from Britain. It fits his original his birthplace, but he's actually British American. And he is known as like a entrepreneur, a influencer, internet personality, social media personality,
Okay.
um, and but yeah. So the article I sent you was really really interesting
Right.
because it's basically an interview with him. And do you remember who the interviewer was? I forgot that guy's
It was
name.
that was Tucker Carlson actually. Yeah.
Tucker Carlson, right?
Used to be on Fox and he got fired from Fox and he went online and he's actually gotten more popular, but he
What's if I can ask you, what was the January 6th incident? Because I heard about him getting fired, but not being connected to mainstream media. I was not aware of the January 6th incident. Are you
so
aware of that?
yeah, yeah, January 6th was a basically a protest against the election. And a lot of people felt that hey, what's going on, Eric? I ain't seen Eric in a while. Hey. Felt that the J6 was felt that
Hi,
it
Eric.
was the elections were tampered with basically. And
Okay.
so people went to go protest, and so a lot of people, and it's funny because I can't really discuss it on it because they'll censor you, but they're saying basically people were uprising because they're saying that they were the
Okay. So this was the pooping on the desk incident in
um
the in Capitol Hill.
so they say. I don't, yeah,
But
that's,
this is the incident they're speaking
yeah, yeah,
of.
yeah, yeah, that's the incident, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
what's interesting, yeah, is like when I people are referring to it outside of the US
yeah,
as the January 6th incident. So
right.
I just assumed there must have been something else because
Mm,
the
yeah,
yeah, okay. So this is the storming of Capitol Hill
right,
situation.
yes,
Got it.
yeah,
Okay, so I do know about that situation. Just the way they
okay.
referred to it, I didn't get it at all. But
Right. Yeah,
okay,
and yeah, they, just another witch hunt on Trump. They're trying to deter Trump. What's going on is that they're getting more and more desperate because after the indictments, they indicted him for Mar-a-Lago about the documentation, and then of course in New York about I can't even remember. And his polls have surged, like he's gotten even more popular.
I'm not surprised.
Right, but apparently
Yeah.
they're not get. You're not surprised, but they're not getting it. The more they go after the Trump, the more popular he's getting.
Okay. So this seems like the same thing with Tucker Carlson, the
Yeah,
interviewer.
yeah, yeah. Tucker
Okay.
Carlson, same thing. He was
So
like,
and why was he fired? I mean, what's the
they,
speculation behind this?
there's many speculations. I mean, what kind of opened up my eyes, he interviewed a black nationalist group that that the FBI raided and said that they were communists, and he spoke against that. And then there were some other things too that he spoke against. Like I said, he basically in a nutshell saying that the mainstream media is fake news, and so yeah, they fired him.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so he exclaimed on media
Well,
that
actually, it wasn't on media. He actually went to another event. It was a conservative event, and he
interesting.
kind of just spoke his mind there. And I guess uh, the people, the president at Fox got wind up, and then like, oh yeah, we're gonna fire him. So because I guess not only
Now I
on air but off air, you're supposed to carry a certain narrative. And he also Tucker Carlson has said that Zelensky's losing the war in Ukraine. I mean, he said a lot of stuff. So I guess they were just like, he's not going with the narrative. And so, the
and I thought Fox News was the one that tried to go against the liberal agenda. So it seems like that's
well,
not true.
well, let's talk about the liberal agenda. I mean, no, Fox is still well. See, there's many faceted agendas. So both Fox and the liberal, and when I say Republican, I'm not talking about the mega Republicans, but the rhinos, the Republican in name only, are both pushing this agenda that Ukraine is winning the war. No, they're not winning the war. No, and that's why I'd say I've gotten on here and I've gotten pushback. I've been accused of being what's the term? Anywho, basically any news organization that said that yeah, QAnon. I've been accused of QAnon. So basically, this is the deal. Any news media that said that, hey, what's up, MD? That um, Putin invaded Ukraine, then that's fake news because he was petitioned by Luhansk and Donetsk. These are real republics. He was petitioned. So I look at any media that's saying he invaded for no reason. I look at them sideways because they all Crimea, Luhansk, Donetsk all had referendums and they petitioned Putin to come help them.
Hmm. Okay. So
So
it's
that's how I base out my
interesting.
media. That's how I base my media and my research.
Okay. So what's interesting is okay, so let's what I need to really understand is from, within the United States, what is the conversation about like left wing versus what right wing? I mean, like what, we know that people are really
The
saying that like,
conversation is both left wing and right wing are anti Trump. They're trying to take Trump down. Trump is running as a Republican, as a MAGA Republican, but he really, if you look at him and you look at Kennedy, RF Kennedy, they both think independently. They're not with the, like I said, with the whole because the Democratic Party, right and left, and the Republican Party are really one and the same. But Trump, it just comes down to establishment, anti-establishment, and that's why they're trying to demonize him so much, and they're trying to
mm,
demonize Kennedy. And Kennedy is actually running as a Democrat, but the Democrats right now they don't want no what do you call that when they debate. They don't want any. They don't want to have any. I guess primary debates or whatnot. They just want to
oh,
push Biden ahead. So yeah, it's a lot
okay.
of yeah.
Okay, so what's really interesting about that is, you know, I sent you this article where Carlson is interviewing Andrew Tate. So I'll just give you some background information. Um, when the lockdown was still taking place, I remember him getting arrested.
Right.
And he was basically, the way that it was put, uh, from the media that I received on this end was that he and his brother were being arrested for human trafficking.
Right. Human trafficking. Right.
Yes. So that was really interesting because at the time I'm still to this day, and especially then, waiting what was going to happen with the release of the documents from the Ghislaine Maxwell case.
Right.
Um, getting that list of celebrities, high profile people and politicians
Right.
released to the public.
Right.
And just before that, we had the Supreme Court judge whose family was gunned down on her
That's
front
right.
doorstep.
Glad you remember that. Right. Right.
Yes. And then all of a sudden, these two, along with three other people from Canada, were arrested. And three other ones were actually clearly, explicitly arrested for pedophilia and for they didn't call it human trafficking, but it was basically like a violation of women cases
Right.
along with the pedophilia.
Right.
So almost about the same time, Tristan and Andrew Tate, Maury Andrew, were arrested for human trafficking. So
Right.
automatically, it appeared to me, not knowing anything about these two figures, that they were somehow involved in this ring, and that there was some type of violation of children
Right.
that happened. Um, the interesting thing, though, is that the more I've gotten information about these two gentlemen's case, one, it doesn't seem like there was any real human trafficking.
Okay.
Definitely no pedophilia, because I like to clearly know what's happening,
Right.
and what United States, and particularly, let's talk about Biden. He's responsible, in my opinion, for making sure that these types of cases clearly goes before the court system, and that they're resolved, people against these violators, particularly of children. What's very interesting to me is that the more I've dug into this case, I cannot find any information
Right.
about their involvement with pedophilia at all.
Because it's easier to stir up people's emotion when you say rape, sexual assault, pedophilia.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
will run on
Human
their
trafficking,
human
right?
trafficking,
Sorry.
right? They will run on their emotions without. They don't even want to hear if there's any evidence. They just want to run because those are triggering words: rape,
Right.
sexual
Yeah.
assault, pedophilia,
Yes.
child molestation. These are triggering words. Human trafficking. Yeah, the human. They are words that invoke emotions.
Correct.
Especially in women. Oh, and everybody, women, children. It evokes a certain emotion, and so when you lose, you're guaranteed if you can get a person charged with those things, then you will most likely have people running on their emotions as opposed to look like what you did, looking up the specifics in the case.
Right. So I think what's very interesting about this case is that, one, they did not use the term pedophilia,
Okay.
because that term in the media seems to be very, very heavily guarded.
Right.
And what I mean by that is it's very, very few times since um, the um, the Maxwell case was that term even used. So I don't know if anyone else has noticed that, but I've noticed it very strongly. You know, so the other thing that really disturbed me about this case is that I haven't found any real evidence that that they're able to present that these men
Right.
actually performed any human trafficking.
Right.
So apparently, there's some information here that they coerced some women to go on social media, and they took their earnings from social media. Um,
Right.
so I think that that's really interesting in itself, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because, one, we know that it really takes a lot to make money on social media.
It does.
It's not as like, ooh, I have all these followers, I'm gonna make all this money.
Right.
That's not how social media really works.
Right.
Um, and the second thing that's very interesting about this is that when I looked into the people that they let's say allegedly said these horrible things about him, um, I don't even see any like real accusations being put out there. What I do see is that a lot of people defending him, particularly Emery Andrew Tate.
Right.
I see a lot of people who, even exes, even people he's worked with in the past,
Right.
doesn't work with anymore. I'm seeing a lot of people really stand up for him. So I think that that's really interesting that they throw out this human trafficking case on him
Right.
without hard evidence, and have these two people, they spent a lot of time in the Romanian jail
Right.
serving time for this, and on top of that, now they're on house arrest until
Right.
this case actually gets to be seen in front of a judge.
Right.
So yeah, these are really interesting facts, because another thing that I did find while researching this information was how there have already been two cases brought up by the BBC where within their organization they have found, and quote unquote, as they put it, members of the BBC who have been grooming uh, minors. And like I said, it's interesting that they're willing so boldly, without any evidence, to use the term human trafficking so strongly.
Right.
Um, and yet, when there is evidence, there are witnesses, there is a real case situation where adults in the media are being outed,
Right.
whistleblown, that they have been tampering with minors. Um, the media has completely covered it up.
Been complacent.
So
That's why I call them fake stream media, fake news media.
that is really interesting information, especially
Mhm.
in this environment, as we've been discussing for the last few weeks, where
Right.
there is this, I feel, strong target on children, and no one is acknowledging this target. And let me just pull up something.
Right.
Maybe I can send it to you, where um, let me just see how I can get this information over to you. But
Okay. If
I
you
want to
send it
show
to
you.
the if you send it to the messenger, I can actually pull it up through my Facebook. If
Got
you want
it.
me to pull it up,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
So let me try to do it this way. Hold on. I don't want to lose our notes here.
no problem.
Okay. So you said if I pull it up.
Yeah,
Okay.
pull it up and then send it to the messenger, and then I can pull it up, and then I can do a share screen if you like.
Okay. So just give me 1 second.
Okay, no problem.
And I'm very interested in what you have to say about this while I'm pulling this up.
Okay. Okay, y'all, be going. Check the sound real quick.
Okay.
Okay. Real quick, shout out to Erica. Shout out to MD20. Shout out to Deacons of Reality. Shout out to y'all. Shout out, shout out, shout out. Uh, Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out.
Okay. So let's see if I can actually, if there is footage that they're gonna let me share with you.
Okay. What platform is it? Is it on?
Let's see.
Because it's on. Well, I was gonna say not Facebook, but if it's on YouTube, I'll definitely be able to share it. However, you know what? I should be.
Maybe I can find this on YouTube. So I'm looking at at NBC News right now,
Oh, okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, okay.
and but I'm not able to pull up even on my end,
The
because I
image.
forgot that it's regional. You When you're not in US, you can't,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
pull up certain
Yeah,
information.
got you.
But I do want to share with you the title, so I'll put that out there if you don't mind sharing.
Okay,
Um, and I think it's
okay. I just got it. Okay, so
okay. And then
let's see if
also,
uh, Facebook.
let's see if I can find it in YouTube for to share with our audience here.
Okay. Oh, this is just the. What is this? The article or this the?
This is an article
Okay.
exactly. Um,
Up the article. I don't know if you. Well, I guess we don't have time, or if you don't.
yeah, to go through line by line.
Okay.
Um, but I think that what's interesting. Let's see if I can. Okay, here we go. I've got something to send. Okay, no, this is someone
Oh
else's
wow.
page.
Wait a minute. You said that was an article?
This is the article, but there was an
Okay.
actual chant that took
Uh,
place.
yeah, nothing's coming up on my end. These nature mom.
Okay,
Nothing's
so
coming.
I'm trying not to send someone else's footage of their show, which is not easy because how else are you going to get this information?
Okay. Yeah. Let's see if I can pull up something.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know if you can find pieces of it. Is I mean, without other
So it's not giving
commentators.
you a, you're not giving you a link or anything.
No, it's not easy to find this.
Oh,
But let me see if I can at least share a link to someone else's coverage of this without showing that person. But I just want to like highlight the chant itself.
okay.
Let's see if I can get this to you. So if you would probably take a moment to go through and find it without, yeah, someone else's, but so the chant that we're speaking of right now, it basically was the, I think, New York City parade,
Right.
and the message was, "We're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children."
Oh wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So so the interesting conversation is, like the article I sent you from NBC says that this, this.
Why would they be coming for the children?
So that was also, I mean, when someone is chanting this, they are speaking directly to me because
Mhm.
I have children.
Right.
And so I had the same question. And, like I said, so many times in politics and in media, you have hard evidence, n- eyewitnesses, who can give, you know, clear information about politicians, about media workers, who have violated or who are, as they put it, groomed minors. Yet the media does not put out their information at all. Yet,
Right.
in the case of Andrew Tate, I mean, here's someone who puts out on his social media platform, on Twitter, and because I haven't really seen him on any social media, but I've seen this. I've checked it out for myself, where he is uncovering information about, people in high positions, who they have evidence against, yet they conceal their names, they conceal their identities, and yet, in his case, I keep asking a question: why are they going after this man so, and his brother so much?
Right.
So I did a little digging, as you guys
Okay.
know I love to do. And what I found is this is a person who is one. He's very religiously based, so he is a outspoken Christian.
Right.
He does like set his values on that. On the other hand,
Okay.
he coaches young men to behave like men. And a lot of his message is about like learning how to behave in a way that earns and then deserves respect. First, you learn how to behave in a way that you can respect yourself, and then those behaviors will eventually um, allow other people the opportunity to respect you as well. The When I looked up his information on Wikipedia, a lot of
Hmm.
the words on Wikipedia used to describe him is controversialist, misogynist, woman hater, a lot of terms like this.
Okay.
But if I can add, that's exactly why academia does not allow Wikipedia, because it is a platform of opinion, not of facts.
Right.
Um, and nothing to back up this information, because that's what I was looking for. I wanted to understand now that I realize I've been given a message that was misleading and even manipulative. I wanted to know why there was so much effort put into manipulating this message to the mainstream public. And the thing that I started to discover is, here is a man, a biological male, who teaches other people to behave like men. He teaches what he knows, what he feels like he knows best. And
Conservative
and then
language, basically.
say it again.
Conservative language.
I wouldn't even say conservative. I would just say language that's much more about realism and not basically like more hard teaching versus trying to give safe spaces and trying to give trigger words and but really teaching people that they're more resilient than they think they are, which I think that that's a really interesting message for someone to put out there in public today.
Okay.
And and I was trying to find like where I needed to see this misogyny, because I think that
Well, again, it's a triggering word. So their roll of the dice is hoping that you will go on emotions as opposed to
right,
looking up. So yeah.
to actually, yeah,
And
put
unfortunately,
language
they
in the
will, even though they rolled the dice and you went on ahead and did research, more than likely people on the internet will go with their emotions as
well,
opposed to,
that's the other thing I'm starting to like, I'm asking around, people have very strong opinions or, not clear opinions about him, but I'm just kind of like taking a verbal survey and I'm saying, "Oh, have you heard of this guy? Tell me what you know." And people will share almost nothing except for like what
right,
they have heard
he's going
from
to get locked
Wikipedia.
up. Yeah. That's,
Yes.
that's all I've heard.
And
Like,
and
okay.
I've asked for evidence, and so it just kind of reminds me of the conversation we had several weeks ago about what is a woman. This director going around and
According to the
asking.
Roseanne Barr, Roseanne, a woman is somebody who has a breast down to their stomach, who has had kids, and the kids, she went on this rant, but yeah, she had a lot to
Okay,
say, man.
okay,
Roseanne went in,
I'm
but she was like,
curious.
yeah, oh yeah, Roseanne is not playing that whole,
Maybe you can
right.
show us sometime if you could
You know
give us
what?
a clip to it. That would be great.
Dang, yeah, because you just brought it up, so I'm not prepared to show you, but I will send it to you. But yeah, Roseanne went
Love
in.
it.
She went in.
Okay, I would
She
love
had
to
a
hear
lot to
that.
say. Yeah, classic Roseanne. She turned it into a joke, but she was serious too.
Right,
She
right.
was like, having your breasts to come down to your stomach, and she just like really went
Yeah,
in, and
yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
wow. And then she says something about her kids, like your kids coming to ask you for money, and they're not being. She just like she went on a
yeah.
tangent, but I was like, damn, she's right though.
So she took the stance of not only a woman who has birthed children
Yes,
and basically like showed her credentials right there.
yes. Showed
So
her
I think
credentials. Yeah,
I think that that is a really interesting conversation because, in a sense, after watching this interview with Amori Andrew Tate, it really made me realize that there seems to be a directive, and especially through media,
right,
to erase what a woman is and what a man is.
right, right,
And,
right,
and I
right.
think that that's very interesting because why is there a need to erase, the two entities on the earth that can recreate?
It's
So
funny because the whole presidential election is being drawn around that because now here in America we have trans and just regular strippers stripping in front of kids, like going to instead of the kids learning about, I don't know, they're going to see schools and doing pole dances, I guess showing little young minors how to do pole dancing. Yes, yes. And because Joe Biden had trans at his whole the White House and everything, there's a whole pushback movement of conservatives saying, look, I played it some the other day with Trump, and I forgot the name of the thing, the rally, but yeah, there's a big pushback. So this is going to be the theme of the 2024 election about our kids versus the trans agenda versus the real far left versus the far right. Because right now, the people who are kicking up the most noise are the extreme uh, trans people on the left and the ultra right conservative to the right, which understandably, and I'm not a Christian, but as far as the values are concerned, I'm like, yeah, I get it. You know what I'm saying? So people are probably wondering, oh my God, Trump, Black Son playing Trump and a lot of these Christian rallies and all that. And I'm like, I mean, hey, you know,
so once again, I mean, so okay, I just addressed the question of why is there an agenda to erase, the biological male and the biological female.
right.
The interesting part is why is the target in erasing us going for our children?
Because
And,
children are more impressionable.
they're definitely more impressionable. But what's interesting to me is like hearing things like you've said, and I would need you to send that to me so I could see it with my own eyes.
Okay.
Anyone, I mean, just imagine, when we were growing up in school or even teaching in the schools, a stripper, a pole dancer coming into the school to demonstrate, anything for the kids. Now, let's say I've seen some very artistically done pole dancing, where the dancer is actually, clothed in a dance outfit. There's nothing being like, thrown in your face sexually. It's, I've seen some brilliant storylines, through this art.
Wow.
But I feel like what you're saying right now is that, that this, through the administration, which is heavily guarded and protected and ran by leftist agenda right now, is um, trying allowing our children to be exposed, to highly sexual content.
Right.
And my question is, what gives you the right? So I think that one thing, if I can, like, when I ask myself what gives them a right, the first thing I think of is me as a parent. If I'm not there, and which I always am, there's no show that's going to go on in the school like that where I'm not present and I'm not walking out as soon as it happens with my children,
Right.
and then having a nice long conversation with my children of why that's inappropriate, on so many levels, and more than likely writing a whole lot of letters and making a huge presence, to of accountability, like a question of accountability for such actions, without my explicit consent.
Hmm.
So I think that that's like step one, I don't leave the educational institutions to raise my children for me.
Right.
Um, and I think that that's very important because if
Funny you
you
should
leave,
say that because a lot of the kids are being taught. Well, then you have a big pushback about uh, the kids. What I heard. This is what I heard, Nature Mom. I've heard that the people on the right want to stop child mutilation, meaning stop the kids from being trans. There's a whole agenda from what I hear of trans going after the kids, and the kids need to change their identity and change their sex, and there is no sex, and so I'm hearing all kind of weird stuff going on.
right? Okay. So, I mean, let's just imagine, you know, um, let's just imagine the day, when we're going to school
Okay.
and, we went to school in Beverly Hills. So we were around a lot of privileged children, kids with their parents' money.
Right.
And we had classmates that altered, they did rhinoplasty, they did chin implants, they did all of these plastic surgeries, and
I
they
didn't
weren't
know
even,
that.
oh, I guess I thought you knew.
I didn't
Yeah.
know.
And they did a lot of surgeries that, I mean, one, kids like us were not even like, privy to because, our parents didn't have the funds for things like that. But on the other hand, meeting a child who had such major plastic surgery done was shocking. It was really shocking. It was like, wow,
Wow.
really? I mean, to the
I didn't
point
know
where, yes,
that. Okay.
I'll say a name later and
Okay.
see if it reminds you.
Okay.
Uh, but on the other hand, um, just imagine, because that person, especially based on, uh, stereotypes, stigma, stigmatization, felt like their natural features were not becoming for them, and it caused them trauma. Yes. So this is at that era. Let's talk about today. Children are being convinced to have permanent surgery
Right.
to alter their genitalia and their sexual parts.
Right.
So, or their auxiliary sexual parts, like having a mastectomy.
Right.
Um, so let's just like imagine this person, like many others, as we saw on Vanity Fair magazine recently, decides we still have working parts inside of our bodies. I choose to carry a child. I mean, there's no consideration at the point of having that surgery that, they may change their mind, like this person on Vanity Fair, and we know that the title read something like, a man having a baby. No, it's a female, who presents herself as a man in society, had a mastectomy so she looks more like a male, and then decided, at probably the right biological time, where your hormones start to say, my clock is going off, my body needs to reproduce, and
Right.
chooses to have this child. The first thing that comes to my mind as, a scientist is that, or should I say a student of science, a lover of science,
Right.
is that everything that we know about what's best for a child in their especially first year to first 6 months to a year of their life is that receiving that colostrum from the breast and the breast milk gives them the best advantage to health in life.
Okay.
So right there, that person has chosen, maybe as a child, I don't know when this particular person had their mastectomy done, but when they were choosing to present themselves to mass society as a male, I just have to ask the question: were they ever considering that they may be carrying a child in their body, and that the whole purpose of having a child isn't so that you can walk them around as a token, and show them off as a trophy, but that this is a human being that you're choosing to raise, mentor, strengthen, empower,
Yeah.
and yet you took away the number one tool of empowerment for their immune system, which was that milk in your mammary glands, in your breast, you
Right.
know, gone. So the second thing is, I really have to ask the question also, um, you know, where's the mental health of this person from the beginning? And, I'm not saying that
Well,
it
again,
is.
I don't want to attack the mental health of the children because, like I said, children are impressionable. Where's the mental health of the people trying to enforce this? Where's their mental health? You know what I'm saying? Because again, children, oh, this is a good question. MD said, do children have rights?
So I children have basic human rights, yes. I mean, they have the right to live safe. They have a right, they should have a right to clean water, food, shelter. Um, they should have a right to not be abused mentally, physically, or emotionally. But let's say, like, should they have the right as children to permanently alter their sexual organs? Should they have that right? Now these are young people who are not sure from 2:30 to 5 p.m. whether they want
And a
peas,
person,
carrots, or both.
so you can say, and you can apply the same argument as, do children have a right to drink alcohol, or do children have a right to drink beer, or
Do they have a right to drive a car? They
right?
want
Good
to.
point. Good
Do they
point.
have a
Right.
right to drive it? Are they ready to drive a car?
Right.
You
Right.
know, isn't there a reason why they raise the age to be able to get a driver's license from 16 to 18? I
Right.
remember we got ours at 16.
Yeah.
It's no longer available, and law was put into place to change that for a reason.
Oh, they did away with that?
Yeah, I don't believe you can get a driver's license at
Oh,
16 anymore. If
damn.
I'm
Ooh.
I'm double in the
Ooh,
state
we
of
barely
California.
escaped that, Nature Mom. We barely
Let me
escaped.
double check that, but I believe we just ran under the wire of that.
Wow. So
Let
we're
me
the
double
last
check
generation.
the age, and that's the case in most European countries as well. You have to be 18.
Okay. Now,
The
MD
age
said you can have a driver's license at 16 in Georgia. So okay.
Okay, so in
Okay.
Georgia you can
Okay.
still.
Georgia, red
So,
state, by the way. Okay.
so let's see what you can do. Let's see. Unfortunately, my thumb is hitting everything, so it's not easy to get this information.
Okay. Now, a person. Well, I know the argument is that we don't want children drinking alcohol because it intrudes on the development. So, would you use that same argument
It
for
hinders their development.
right,
Well,
right,
I mean, cutting off your genitalia and taking hormone blockers and endocrine blockers, and spending a lifetime on uh, hormone altering medications. I think is they're finding it to be, if not more detrimental,
more right? So it'll be
it seems to be
development.
at least as
Okay,
equally detrimental to the development, the natural development of a child. Yes.
good point.
Okay, so let's see. Let me just copy this. This is not, for some reason, working. Okay, why can't that work here? You know, and let me just, remind all of you out there, uh, you know, these are my points of view. I am a mother, and when I think about, you know, what I choose, to protect them from in this world,
Right.
um, I also choose that I'm not going to infringe upon their rights, but I'm also not going to let them infringe upon their rights. So I think that,
That's a heavy statement.
okay, so restricted license can be obtained anywhere. A full license
So
can be
as
granted. Okay, so it does depend on state between 16,
okay,
18. But I
okay,
know we have a list here. There we go. So Alabama, Alabama seems to be 16,
okay.
Arkansas 16, Arizona 16. But let me see. No, this is not for even a full license. This is
Learner's
what they
permit.
call a student driver or a student permit.
Right, right, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm trying to find like the for a full license.
Now I think for a full license it might be 18. I'm
18.
not for certain, but I think it
Some
is.
places it's
Yeah.
17, some places it's
Eight.
16 and a half or
Oh,
16
okay.
point. They say 16.6 months.
And this is an unsupervised license, meaning they could just go out.
Unsupervised. Let me just make sure that that's what this, it says minimum entry age. So here's the supervised driver's license. And
Supervised
yeah,
meaning your parents have to be in the car with you at all times.
correct,
Yeah.
correct,
Hmm. Which is similar to a learner's permit in California, meaning
correct.
you could drive the vehicle as long as your parent is accompanying you in the car. So when you get pulled over, you give them the learner's permit, and then of course, the parent has to have their license on them
Hmm.
accompanying you. Okay, so yeah,
So, and most of these states have the same like regulations. You can
right.
have a restricted license or what they call an unrestricted state license, which means you can drive at night and you can have passengers. And
Uh,
most of these unrestricted licenses, you have to be between the age of 17, except for Arkansas seems to be at 16.6 months, 6 months, or until age 18, whichever occurs first.
okay.
Um,
So 16 and a half a year. Okay.
so a completely unrestricted license seems to be majority
18.
um, 18.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. I think we cleared
17,
that up.
17, 18 years old. Yes.
Okay. I think we've cleared that
So,
up.
so let's say you're not even allowed to operate a vehicle until you're at least 17, 18 years old,
Okay.
um, unrestricted. So
Okay.
therefore, and let's talk about when you're able to. Okay, so that's just being able to drive the car, right? What about like being able to get, regular car insurance,
Right.
and being able to rent a car? So
Right.
most states, you're not even able to rent a car until you're 20 to 21 years old.
Which is understandable because if I owned a business, I don't want, I mean, like you said, number one, the insurance rates are going to go up. And I just don't want, I mean, you got to look at the business owner perspective. I don't want no young kids driving my investment in my business and go out there and reckon what they're most likely to be irresponsible and drink, smoke weed, and just be driving and being distracted and get an accident. So I get it from a insurance business owner perspective. I get that. I don't even think it's so much the state. I think it's just the business owners and their property. They're like, nah, that's a no go. And so, and then the insurance people, you got to look at it from their perspective, Nature Mom.
Right. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
But just looking at it from a mother's perspective,
Right.
I don't want my children, I mean, my kids did not even own their first cell phone until they were 10 and a half years old.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So and one of my children, I didn't feel that she was emotionally mature enough to own it until she was 12 and a half years old.
Right. Right.
So, and they both still have a lot of restrictions on when and how they're able to use it. So,
Okay, so the MD saying that the state should not have the authority to regulate that, and I will agree
should
with. I'm
should
gonna have
not have
to.
the right to regulate having a driver's license.
Um,
Is that what MD is saying?
I think. Damn, it's a delay. Damn, I don't know if MD. If you're not busy, I think because I think he's at his son's game. Uh,
Right.
hop on because I think I'm not sure. We're not sure 'cause I think I'm not sure what he's saying, but yeah,
Okay.
MD he might not be able to join us because, like I said, he's at his son's game. But
Okay.
so he's like looking at the game and looking at the thing, looking at the game. So but I don't know. And then background noise, so I don't know if he'd be able to jump. But MD, if you are, jump on.
Okay. So
Yeah, I'm
if
sure.
what
Yeah.
he's saying that if the state should not have the right to regulate that, I mean, I think that like I personally prefer being on the road with my children.
Okay.
And I prefer public policies that protect me and my children while on the road. So I would prefer not being surrounded by young, immature drivers. Here,
Oh,
um,
you know what? I see what MD's saying. MD's saying that. So I hear your argument, Nature Mom. You're saying that you want to have a more safer environment. However,
absolutely.
what MD is saying, because he's a libertarian, he's saying that there should be less government regulation on that type of stuff. Meaning that is really each individual responsibility as opposed to the state. He's not a fan of putting the power into the state like that.
Okay, but I don't think it's
So
a
yeah,
matter of like putting power in a state. I think that
well,
what we're talking about here is
regulation.
public policy, right? Public policy should be, um, as we the people, choose. It should be, what we found, through science is best. What we find through voting is best. And let's say, when there's true, clear, and transparent voting systems taking place, public policy is not supposed to be a power lever for government. It's
Well, then
supposed to be
let
a
me ask you this because this is actually coming up with Trump. Trump wants to deregulate censorship on the internet because he felt like, look, as long as whatever companies are based in the United States should have free speech.
okay.
And there's a pushback on the internet because the internet is saying, well, we're a private entity. And so they want to, Trump is running on, he wants to add a Bill of Rights to the internet so people can have free speech, freedom of expression, no censorship.
So
So,
let's say if we're talking about there's an internet platform
okay.
where it's is restricted to adults. Say what you
Well,
want to
right,
say,
yeah.
right?
Okay.
But if we have a platform that is general public,
Yeah.
no, I do not want my children exposed to any and everything that crazy people want to put in their minds. Absolutely
But
not.
shouldn't, okay, but again, shouldn't those sites have an 18 and over warning?
As they do, but they don't
Okay.
enforce it, as you see. I mean, even let's
But
say, for
isn't it up
example,
to you?
Fortnite. Fortnite is supposed to be a kids' platform,
Mhm.
but pedophiles are using it to abuse children and have hurt them. Very, very much so. Kids have killed themselves behind the abuse and the, sexual pedophilia that's taken place and the bullying behind it. So, yes, I mean, these are platforms that are targeted to children and they're hurting people. So let's say, for example, Facebook is supposed to be 18 and over. Instagram supposed to be 18 and over. YouTube
Well,
is
where do
supposed to
we?
have strong restrictions, right? Of like, who's what. People are getting around it. So I'm not saying that the parents have no responsibility. I'm just
Right.
saying that in the realm of like public domain, then if we allow people to do and say whatever they want because they are calling this public domain, and they choose to not have let's say uh, they choose to not have child friendly censorship in general public spheres, then I just choose to not have my children around those fears at all,
Right. And
because it's dangerous for them.
no,
And
and
I think that this is a great example. All of our kids turning into the opposite sex is a great example of it. My kids, I'm able to have a clear conversation about it with them, because they don't get to just sit there and perseverate on it all day, all night on their own. They
yeah,
are being guided through it.
but what if the government's on the side that you don't agree with? Like I said, Joe Biden had transvestites taking off their shirt at the White House. So,
So let's say if there was
right.
public policy put into place that
Mhm.
that type of behavior is not PG, then I don't think that that is public behavior. I think that's private behavior. And like once again, I think that there should be the things that you choose as adults and in your consenting world to
Uh-huh.
do what you choose to do, speak how you choose to speak. But when we're in public, general public domain, I do
Right.
think that there should be certain censors. I mean, I think morally we should choose to create a world that is general public.
Right.
I'm
And
I don't need to take off my shirt because I'm so hot. I think that I have the right to show my auxiliary sexual parts, or my other parts. I don't need to expose that to the general public.
yeah,
In
but
my
Mom, there's a real tricky loophole, and I discussed this with MD, and I
I
think I
agree with
discussed this
that.
with you too. Is that technically those people at the White House, and you will agree with me on this, they were men. So they were like, boom, you know what I'm saying? Oh, but we're men. So where do
Yes,
we, because they're
exactly.
men.
And so that's why I feel like when you have a general public policy,
Uh huh.
then you can have an adult public policy and a private
Okay.
public policy. I
Right.
do believe in, general public modesty for the sake of children's safety.
Right.
In my opinion, I think that men or women exposing themselves, being voyeuristic uh, in front of a mixed crowd of people
Right.
is highly, like ill considerate of the fact that there are people who cannot process what is going on and understand it, and could cause them trauma.
Right.
And that's just it's a very selfish stance, especially not just selfish, but it's irresponsible
Right.
in mixed aged crowds, because you don't know what their maturity level is. And that's why we had to put public policies in place that protected children, because there was a time,
Right.
just 100 years ago or more, that where they weren't protected, and they were much more abused. They were openly abused. They were openly exploited in labor markets. And
I have a solution. They should create a adult internet and then the kids internet. They should somehow
isn't
try
that what
to.
YouTube Kids was supposed to be? But what happened? They target children on YouTube. They target children in most media. Their
Wow.
target audience is not you and I so much,
Right.
because we can process through, and we can, when you hear that commercial that says, "Are you over 40?" You click, I don't want to hear it.
Right.
But where a kid will just be like, "Yes, that's me." And they'll sit there and very intently watch and let that information, hit their dendrites and synapses here. And we're getting, and the thing is that without some guidance, to help them through it, no wonder we have children shooting up their schools, and children, confused about what their gender is, and children who are, bullying and abusing each other,
Right.
in our world. And then we're upset that they're behaving this way. But what exactly are we teaching them? Hey, that guy who is looks like a girl just took off his clothes in front of everybody. So why can't I do what I want to do?
Good point. Very good point. Um, So, oh man. Now this is what I was thinking. If you wanted to be a man transitioning and pretending to be a woman, then the women rules should be applied to you. That would alleviate that. So if women can't take off their shirts and you want to be a woman and pray as a woman, then you should abide by the same rules that the women abide by. Does that is that asking too much or
I mean, I think that like generally in public, I like how the policies work here. Okay, it might be based on their theology,
oh,
but maybe that works because what they're really good at in cultures like here in Qatar is they're really good at keeping their private lives behind closed doors. And so, when you go behind their door and you consent as you walk in as their guest, you don't know what you're going to get.
right?
But in public, they're able to show some poise. They're able to carry themselves in a way where children and families and other people don't have to feel offense to how they're choosing to behave in the public. So specifically, neither men nor women are taking off their shirts in a public place here. Men are not allowed to enter the bank, malls, certain places with shorts on, and
I mean, it's
even
kind of the
even
same way here, except for at maybe the beach or something,
right.
or
I mean,
I
maybe
don't,
we don't like take it to the extreme of shorts, for example,
right, right.
but they do have these public standards where people are expected to present themselves in the public in a
Okay.
certain way for the protection of all citizens.
Okay, okay. We got MD on AMD. Oh, he might be on the road. Yeah, he's on the road. Okay, MD, jump in anytime you feel like it. So then, nature mod. So I guess we would have to rewrite policies basically, because that's what I
Um,
guess
I,
we're on
I
the
don't think
verge
it's
of.
so much about rewriting policies because, as we see, policies get written and then they get unwritten and then they switch, based on people or who is in power and which group has that, charismatic leader's ear the strongest.
Right.
So I don't think that policy should work in such a way. I think that public policies should be something that the overall public does agree to. Like, let's say, on the basis of, okay, I don't care what your sexual orientation, your racial background, your religious background. I don't care about any of these things. These are our public standards of conduct, and
Okay.
we expect that in public places, like, say, okay, if you're at a beach, where you're going to go swimming, and we know that clothes can create drag, and this is science. This is some physics here. Clothes can create drag. People go out into those oceans and these seas, they get caught by a current and they get swept away, especially
Right.
because of the drag. So it's not safe for people to wear heavy clothing in water. Speaking as a ex competitive swimmer, that's it's there for a reason.
Right.
But let's say, for example, would we want people dressed like that at a mall? We want people dressed like that,
Well,
and
don't they have most businesses say no shoes, no shirt, no service? That's
no
usually the
service.
norm, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
open
usually
toe shoes. I remember it used to be open toe shoes and you couldn't go into a restaurant. I don't think that
it's
that's the
still
standard policy anymore because a lot of women are wearing open toe shoes now. So, but I remember at one time that was the standard. You had to wear closed toe shoes to a restaurant, and it made sense from a pathological point of view. Because like a lot of pathogens can be spread by aerosol, and
oh wow, okay.
people
Okay.
carry fungus under their feet. A lot funguses have
I,
spores.
yeah, yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I because I guess I wasn't really paying attention to women's feet at a restaurant, you know.
Men's feet too, and
Right, 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 right. So
so we have cause for this. We have reason why, especially when you actually spend time studying these things and understanding what a pathogen is, how it's carried, then it kind of makes sense. Oh, well, that's why they don't want people, just wearing, because we carry a lot of fomites and a lot of mites and a
Right.
lot of other parasites and bacteria and viruses on our skin. So the more exposed someone's skin is, especially in a restaurant, in a gastronomy situation, you're exposing people to any of those pathogens that are available on someone who might be infectious. People don't
Okay.
realize that,
Right.
so let's take it out of that particular context, because yeah, I particularly, if I'm in a restaurant and I see someone walk in, barely clothed, I'm a little grossed out because I know
Right.
more about pathogens that I ever wish to have
All
to
right.
study. But
Okay.
unfortunately, when you're studying science, you got to know this stuff, and it's gross, So,
Wow.
yeah, I am much more aware of like what can happen and what things can be contagious just from your skin, and that there are, large, droplets, and there are aerosols, that can spread infection. So let's take that to, let's
And
take
the way
that,
you feel, I love dogs, but when people bring their dogs into the restaurant, I'll be like, ugh,
not the restaurant for me. No, not
because
at all.
dog hairs kind of fly just like cat hairs. It's like I'm not going to eat from a person who got cats and
No.
dogs in their house. So I feel you. Oh God.
Mm-mm. No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
it's not. I mean,
And I
and
got nothing against dogs,
dogs,
man. I love
cats,
dogs.
we love them, but they carry a lot of pathogens. They carry a lot of, disease, and people aren't as wonderfully, like versed on what worms, pathogens that
Right,
their animals are carrying, and they actually can become carriers to some of these that are are able to transfer to humans.
right,
So no, I don't think that human beings have many times the best information
right.
to be able to make a general public decision, when they don't even know that basic information, about what their bodies are carrying and how
I
it can
think
be transmitted to other people.
most dog owners, they travel on the ideology of, well, I'm around my dog, I feel fine, so then you should feel fine. That's usually the mentality of most dog and cat owners, that it doesn't bother me, so it shouldn't bother you.
Most humans don't even realize that they're carrying a skin pathogen that
Right.
is transmittable until sometimes days to weeks after they are contagious.
Okay.
So
Right.
yeah,
You
so
carry.
no, I don't put any humans trust, or feelings in my
Right.
children's health path. I'm very, very, I'm very particular. I do, I do expect if someone sneezes, I will say to them, could you cover your mouth because you just spread about 6 feet of pathogens across the room, and I would prefer not to share pathogens with you.
Well, I
You know,
feel that same way when people are smoking a cigarette and then exhale it in my presence. It's like,
it
what's the difference between a person sneezing and exhaling cigarette smoke in your face?
there is, I mean, the biggest difference is that they are also, not only with their possibly contagious air droplets, they're also giving you secondhand smoke, which is known to cause worse effects than someone who is a direct smoker. So you're I mean, doubly exposing me and who I'm with, without any consideration. So just bringing that all back, to how people choose to expose themselves,
Right.
how they choose to give information to me, my children. No, I don't trust your information. And I do think that there should be general public domain that protects me and my children from your pathogens, from your opinions, from what
Right.
your opinions are fine if I ask you for them,
Right.
but more than likely I didn't ask you.
Right.
So keep them to yourself.
Real quick,
And
Nathan, let me MD, can you hear us? I think he's on the road.
yeah,
Because
probably.
I don't want him to lose his thought. Because I know he's going to talk about the regulations on the government. Because
Yeah.
MD.
I think eh, we're gonna have to hold regulations for
Okay.
next week. Yeah,
Okay.
because
Okay.
that
Okay.
is a deep conversation. But
Right.
once again, I would just put it back into the realm where our elected president of the United States was able to choose to endorse. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, he was the number one endorser of a person exposing themselves to a general public. So right there, to me, he is now disqualified as a competent leader, who's able to make a judgment call.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
yeah, that's just it. When you start to allow behaviors like that,
Yeah.
I think that you've really lost sight of what your role is. Your role is to hold, as much decency as possible, and hold yourself to it, and call everyone, who you are representing, to that, as when you're representing the American people, you should be representing every American citizen. And there are
Right.
many of us who I would have spoken out. I would have said something very strong, uh, you know, uh, for such a miscall from a person who's supposed to be a leader. I feel there's a lot of bias in that type of behavior.
Right.
And where's my representation in that? And I'm
Right.
paying my taxes too.
But a lot of people, they felt like, you know what, we're not voting for Joe Biden, but Kamala Harris is a black woman of color, so we're going to vote because she's the vice president. What do you say to that?
I say then she should have made sure that she's representing all constituents, not just one particular group. It is now discrimination as far as I see.
Wow. Hey, I mean, whew, Nature Mom, good conversation. I know you got company to attend to. I know you have, and I appreciate you coming on the show. And you did shoot me the article. That was my fault. So
No, it's
make
yeah. I
sure,
don't know if
huh?
it went. I don't know if it went through though.
No, 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 no. I'm talking about Thursday before the show. You shot me the article on Andrew Tate. So yeah, I want
Yes.
to definitely,
Yeah, we went a long way around. We'll have to come back to him because,
right,
I think that that's a very important conversation of like this aim targeting of, of really trying to ruin the life of certain people. And why? Is it because, this new era of human beings, who are in charge, the socialites, the politicians, the ones in media, are they so afraid of the truth from someone else? And someone who chooses to live their life,
hmm,
at a level where, you know, they don't need to, behave in such a way. They're gonna hate me because I'm the first person to tell you, cover your mouth, put on your shirt. This is a public place. You are grossing us out. I'm not paying for this. I'm the first one to say
right,
it. So
yeah,
I mean, if they're gonna start, like, and not just targeting these people, but putting false accusations to make them seem like they're the enemy of the public.
right,
And that is a scary, that's an abuse of power as far
right.
as I can see it. And I'm looking for more information. So if anybody else has any other information that could help me, find, evidence, that there was human trafficking that take place, that these were supported information, that the media has the right to, like, lay someone's name and their reputation, their life out there, um, and put all their information online when they have no hard evidence. But then when you do have a person that actually committed the crime, and you have witnesses, and you have, receipts against them, yet you protect their names, you don't put their information out there to the public at all. You treat us now as if we're too, immature, or, too vulnerable to be able to receive their information. Once again, then I'm starting to see, a bias here. And to me that just, that says that our government and its agents and its media and all of the persons within it are acting on levels of prejudice and bias, and that is where I think we need stronger policies that are in the public realm.
Hey, can I be heard?
Yes, indeed, we can hear you now.
All right. So, quick question. So, I understand everything that your mom's saying. How y'all doing this morning? Well, this afternoon. Um. So, what's going to happen when you said public domain? So, what's going to happen when the public domain, its population, is more gradual toward these progressive ideologies than what you're saying? Then what you gonna do?
Personally, I'm gonna probably like drop out. No, thank you. We don't. I mean, and I've done it before. I don't listen to mainstream media because I do know that it sits on a bias. Um, I don't choose to enroll in such behaviors. It is going in one particular direction right now, and that's why I'm choosing censorship. Especially on a certain level, I'm choosing censorship to information that can get to my children, that can be harmful to them. I'm choosing to, when that information does get to them, to be there, be very active, and to educate them, and to give them, I have to mature them, as fast as the world's trying to mature them. The world, I feel like, is trying to, when I say world, I'm more through the media, through social media, is trying to mature them. And now our president in a highly sexual way that I don't think that they are mature enough for. So then it forces me as a parent to have to mature them, to, push them towards being able to, seek real sources. How do you find this information out? It's exhausting for them. And they feel confused, and they feel afraid, and they feel like they don't know which way to go.
Right, right, right. And that's understandable. But the good part about it is you can individually choose that through your parental right as being a parent, basically at the end of the day, and that's a
So
good thing. That's
but
not
you
the state.
tell that to the father who just got arrested for saying that he will not let his daughter transition, that she's too young, and he paid a $30,000 bail to get out of jail. If I can, let me just make sure that that bail is correct. It was
Yeah,
about 30.
yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, he chose to individually stand up for his child, and he ended up in jail.
Yeah, yeah. I totally agree. I mean, you definitely should have that right. But again, like you said, the way the state is going presently with the progressive ideology, that's the fight. And the fight has a simple premise, and it's the Constitution, because the Constitution says that is certain things that you can and cannot do. In regards to and I don't want to like offend or try to get too personal, but in regards to certain aspects, I believe you're in Qatar, Nature Mall.
Correct.
There may be certain aspects in Qatar that you may not agree with
Correct.
within the public domain of how you interact every day in Qatar. The
So
individual.
so
Go
what do
ahead.
you
I'm
mean
sorry.
exactly? What do you mean by that?
I mean, I like I said, I don't know the law like over there, so I mean, I can only assume that there's a certain decorum within the public domain of Qatar that everybody follows traditionally or morally or whatever the situation may be. It
Hmm.
may be a certain aspect of that you may not agree with. I don't know.
Like the hijab.
So let's say, for example, I would take someone wearing a hijab well over someone walking to an establishment nearly naked.
So is that you conforming to that?
No,
To that? Well,
this is one of the reasons why I left United States, because I didn't need my children to learn about sex on a playground as we did growing up. So I knew what lessons were there for them, and they're even worse now. And as Blackson just said, strippers, I don't care if they're transsexual, whatever. There should not be a stripper in an educational institution teaching my children whatever they think that they're teaching my children without my explicit consent.
I understand that. I mean, I think that's an extreme example, but I get it.
Quite extreme.
You
It's
know what I
quite extreme.
mean?
And
Right.
the fact that it even took place, I mean, I know you know this, MD, but an educational facility, no matter which state it is a state-run facility, but it's a federal facility. So that means that each state is getting federal money to operate, these public and educational institutions. It's a federal entity. These behaviors should never be allowed in a federal entity. And so comparing, apples for apples, what you're saying here, something like that would never happen. There many of the highest standards within the laws, the state laws here, are for the preservance of the family. And it is their highest aim, towards the betterment of their people, in writing, of course. And so, no, these types of behaviors, anything that is against the family, would not take place in the public sphere in the state of Qatar. And I appreciate that.
Okay, so let me give pushback on that. Then I would argue that that's the opposite of the spectrum of extremism. That's what I would argue. Now,
Okay.
now, in regards to how we look at individual freedoms and liberties, the tug of war is, or the balance in that is, how do we accommodate these individual freedoms and liberties without infringing upon the rights of everybody else?
So
That's the everlasting fight.
this is what I love about, and I'm going to bring it back to the state of Qatar, because it is something I've experienced, so I can share with you, real life experience, is that, whether you think that that's the extreme of the pushback of extreme, extremism. I'm sorry, I'm not very good at verbatim all the time. But I think your point being, like, you take, having, very clear standards of public behavior here as the extreme opposite of, having very liberal behavior rights. I take the conservative rights over the liberal ones any day, because I think that is where you find the balance. When you are, as a whole society, and you come from very many far extremes, I don't need to deal with, someone's mental illness and their interest in my children, sexually, and all those things in the public space, and them having a right to say, but I like your children, so I have a right to, in this space, walk around however I want. No, I prefer, a state that says we are protecting the development and the innocence and the safety of children above all else. And I appreciate that. Do whatever you want behind your closed doors, except for violate children. But anything you want to do as a consenting adult with another consenting adult, feel free, film it, watch it over and over, have popcorn nights with it, but just keep it behind your closed doors. What I choose when I walk out my door in the public domain, are places more like this that are protecting everyone. And I think they're inadvertently protecting everyone by protecting children first. So I take children.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Give me a children first society any day.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you ain't gonna get no argument from me about that. But what I'm saying is, where is the balance in between being modest in your ideology and being liberal enough to not infringe upon anybody else? You brought up the example about being in a restaurant, right?
Mm-hmm.
About, like, and you went deep, like talking about feet and all type of stuff. So I could use that same argument
Hmm.
and say, hey, how many of us go to the movie theater and we're getting ready for the movie, we're sitting down, and then the couple with the baby come in, and we say, "Oh hell," you know what I mean? Or the instance where you may go to a public venue or a restaurant, and somebody may come in with a mentally challenged person. We can use that same argument.
Absolutely.
How much of an aspect of your inconvenience is relative to your experience in the public domain?
Okay, so being in both of those situations, I would like to respond first with the baby. One, a parent, or set of parents who choose to bring their children, to an 8 o'clock movie to watch Die Hard, or Fast and Furious is an idiot as a parent. My opinion. Hate
I
me as
agree.
much as you want out there. If that rings your bell and you feel like you're the idiot out there that I'm speaking to, then I probably am. So tough titties. But what I will say is that, in this situation, because I have had kids with developmental disabilities, older kids, I took one of, the kids from my program back in California to see Avatar when it first came out. And what a great, everybody's talking, especially in the, cinematography, and there's a mix between, real actors and animation and high tech, new, innovative animations going on. I thought, wow, this would be great because no one else would give him the opportunity and expose him to this. I did feel like, he was a child that I spent enough time with, training him in social behavior, how to behave, how to try to keep, the noise down, try to keep his tics down. I had other little techniques that could help him, to not disturb people around him. I spent that time, with my crew, with, his parents, teaching these behaviors so he could be integrated instead of isolated from mainstream society. The scene in the movie where, the big giant monster came up and his, hair flew out and he had huge teeth. My client got up, ran out of the theater, and ran halfway down, the boulevard. And guess what? I had to get up and go run after him. So yeah, paid that price directly. Lesson learned. Know something about the movie before you take them and know what their tolerance level is. But let's say, for example, what I love about societies that do think about, family and children first, like, for example, in Poland, there was a franchise of movie theaters that catered to mothers with or parents with young children. So they had a particular day, every day, every one day of the week. I think it was on a Wednesday. And there were several shows from like I want to say 9 o'clock in the morning until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And they set up changing tables at the bottom of the theater. They didn't turn the lights all the way to dark. They kept them to dim. There were rocking chairs. There were baby pads where they could, and this time of the theater was majority. Now, other people could come, but it was advertised for parents with young children so that they could have a place in a time where they could enjoy the movie. No one was excluded. The weirdos and the pedophiles could show up too, but this was particular to cater to them. And I very much appreciate it because I had two small children at the time and never had I seen anything like that in the United States. So it was actually quite special to be able to be a part of that. And we even got a discounted price. They had diapers available for us. They really went out of their way as a movie theater chain to cater to this particular crowd so that they would have a time and place that they could go and feel comfortable so that they could leave all the rest of the times available for movies for everyone else.
Great point. So what you're talking about is individual accommodation, and I agree. That goes back to my point of saying how much of this public opinion is castigated on a lot of the stuff that we view society to be in our own mind. You know what I mean? So I mean, you just like gave an excellent example of that. I think certain people, and also not to mention, we're talking about individual business. I have a right as a business owner to go about without infringing anybody else's rights to go about my business my way. That's a great example. I think you just proved my point. I think if we had more of the individual aspect of how we perceive society and not letting the state decide that for us, we would be in a better position. Goes
Well,
back to the trans point.
mhm,
Trans being short for transition. If
okay.
you're a man and you transition into a woman, legally you are therefore a woman. And all the rights bestowed upon you, except for example, like birth. You obviously can't give birth. But hey, if you want to portray this act as being a woman, we gonna bestow the rights upon you as a woman. If you pull your blouse down at the White House, you are then charged with indecent exposure as a woman.
I mean, once again, I think that we covered this a few weeks ago about, like, even if a man's doing it and it doesn't serve a purpose except for, provocation or just excitement, sexual excitement, is it functional in society? So I think that, like, that's where, as in the example with the movie theater, that's where, the private realm, the public realm, and the, political realm, ha- and if I can add to that, the scientific realm really needs to come together, have very, very clear and more, pinpointed conversations about public policy, about, child development, human development on a vast social level. And maybe we would have less, clashes if one, the policies were much more clearer as a public protection. If you want to go to places where you can expose yourself, isn't that what, like, private nudist beaches are for? Places like this where you can go and you can, like, there's no kids allowed on these beaches. For example, I went to or actually didn't go to, but was working as, bringing, my with my crew at a pool party, and it was a pool party at a public hotel, but they made it very clear in their policy here that the pool party was adult only because they were serving alcohol, and they made that policy very clear. I appreciate that at the end of the day because, you know, a lot of the behavior and a lot of the things that, I had to be exposed to as the adult, working there and, trying to promote my business, I wouldn't want my children exposed to. They don't need to be a part of that, because they're not, one, promoting any business, and two, I didn't need someone who is not, fully responsible for themselves, confusing things, and behaving in a way towards my children or even next to my children that could compromise them or my children. So I appreciated that policy. I was a little put off in the beginning because I was like, it's a pool party. And then when I saw, that what they meant by adult pool party, okay, I totally get it. Yeah, this was an adult pool party. And I think that that was appropriate because, there's lots of things here, pool parties, beaches for families, but there aren't so many situations here where people could, just be in this adult environment, where everyone is consenting to this behavior. And I appreciated that the establishment was, let's say, operating in respect to the religion, the laws, and, the policies here to make sure that that was upheld. And at the end, I do think that it was in a way that protected my children.
Yeah, I would have to agree because I just had to have a situation myself where I went to just a regular burger joint, It's like a 50s type of, kind of like Johnny Rockets. And I was unaware, my not only my sons but my daughter and her mother came into town, you know what I'm saying? So we were sitting down, and when we went in, like I said, this is an establishment I go to all the time. They show retro old movies, but that one day we happened to go there, they had some Karen there telling like sexual jokes about penises and vaginas, and I'm like, yo, so they should have at least accommodated, let you know, look, tonight we're doing corny joke night about,
or adult comedy nights.
right,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. This is not for 18. This is not for under 18. I agree. That should have been put up. And I think that that's
yeah,
just the one thing. If we have some like very clear, um, you know, um, rules of engagement for general public versus other, adult members only, then I think that we expect different behavior, different conduct. Um, and the adults who don't want to be a part of that conduct, they have a clear choice. Um, People who are more family oriented would know absolutely if that says adult night only. I have to anticipate that there will be adult only content here, and I'm
Well, that's the thing,
almost
Nature.
sure.
It wasn't even nighttime. It was like around, I don't know, 4 o'clock. And again, this is an eating establishment.
Yeah.
But I guess they decided, and I've never ever heard this comedy night until that day. Because I was,
And I think that like that's the difference between, and I saw Deacon, hi Deacon. No, Qatar's not heaven because there is no heaven here. But I do appreciate that as an establishment, there are clear conversations. Not only with the ruling or the leading establishment, with the business establishments of what is appropriate for the general public. That conversation is very clear, and I appreciate that I wouldn't run into a situation like that where a comedian is talking about penises, or like another situation that I saw, a mother on social media who was very upset because she went to a spa day with her children, and in the women's spa was a trans. Uh, I'm not sure what the right term is if you still have the male parts, but a
transvestite.
transvestite was naked in the women's spa room where she took her children to have a spa day. So I do feel like that was a very, big
What the
mishap
hell? Wait a
of the
minute.
establishment, because there should have been some kind of information. They saw the children going in, they took the money. So there should have been very
What the
clear
hell?
communication that we are an adult only establishment. We I think that that's even like
There
if it
should
were
be
any
some
other
type of
time,
warning. Right. That's
if
crazy.
it was any other time in history, that person could have been
Arrested?
arrested and put up on endangering children
Right.
and indecency and what is they used to do it all the time, where you get this, you have to register as a sexual offender, a sexual child offender. They would have been registered as an offender right there, police called, done, any other time in history. But I think that the establishment is also responsible in that situation,
Right.
not just the person
Yeah,
who is
yeah, I
out.
disagree.
I don't.
I was going. No, no, don't. You just made the point. I disagree on the fact that it's that establishment responsibility to convey that to the customers.
I
They fully
do.
well they fully
I think
well
it's
knew
suspicious
that
because
that transvestite person didn't know that children
they
were
didn't,
possibly going to go in
the parent didn't know. So who's responsible there?
the establishment.
Uh, exactly.
Hey,
Exactly.
I totally agree.
I think that it was their responsibility, and I mean, if I was that parent, I probably wouldn't let it lie. I would push the situation much further than social media. I would be filing some documents because you're selling me a product, and in selling me that product, you sold it to my child too. So here we
Right.
go back to that question. Do children have rights? Yes, they have a right to not be abused in any way, and to me, that was child abuse.
Hey, I agree with it from that aspect, but from the individual consumer, I
Okay,
can't.
guys,
I can't.
just flew in here.
What
Okay,
happened?
I can be brave
What?
about a lot of things, but weird things that fly out of nowhere. Hold up.
Yeah.
Oh,
So again, it goes back to my point. Where can you hear me?
yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I
She has a bug that attacked her. I'm sorry about that, MD.
am sorry, so
Catch her.
sorry.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right. So it no, it goes back to the point of the balancing act between public domain versus individual responsibility. I think the individual responsibility holds more weight over the masses based on the fact that we're individually responsible for our own actions. Going back to Black Son's example of the restaurant doing amateur hour or whatever.
yeah.
Can you hold them responsible based on not knowing that what was going on? Yes, you can. But the individual rights of the particular establishment can say, "Hey, listen, I'm sorry. We can accommodate you, full refund, whatever." They have the right to say, "Hey, this is what we're doing tonight. If you don't like it, you can leave." Individual responsibility trumps over all based on the fact that the infringement of the rights of the individual is at the root cause of whatever the situation may be. It's not over public opinion.
No, I think that like if there
If that
were
makes sense.
clear policies, sorry to jump over you, but if there were clearer public policies in place,
You might. Yeah, just pull it up a little bit.
me.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, yeah, yeah. There you go. There
This
you go.
okay. Sorry. If there were clearer public policies put in place, then I think that the establishment would have already, when they got their license to operate to the public, would have very clear parameters of like what things wouldn't would and would not be able to happen. So, for example, back to this, hotel that had the pool party, they were very clear on what the liabilities would be if it would have gone any other way. That was based not only on private, institutional policy, but their policies were influenced by the repercussions of the state. So I do think that there should be a much cleaner conversation and clarity between our responsible governments, between our institutions, and like I said, between you know our science community too, because then you have professionals in there. They're saying, look, well, we know that these policies would be much more beneficial because we already have the data of when these things went awry, when this did not work out, and we had public conflicts. Like, I think that this situation with the mom and the transvestite in the spa, this should be well documented in the sociology and the psychology community and discussed with the government. That should, like, our top psychologists and sociologists should be right there in that conversation going, okay, so what went wrong here? And I think that, same as Black Sun, he's trying to have family day and family reunion, and he's having penises slapped against his burger. So I think that's like, that's it's not something I would want either. And maybe a better conversation between establishments would make clearer lines, especially for individuals who might be mentally ill, immature, emotionally immature. We have a lot of emotionally immature adults. So, not surprising that they're just so willing to throw off their shirts in front of children and not even realizing that they should, have some charges drawn against them for indecent exposure before a minor, which is a law, by the way. So, I think that's like this is the issue, is that the line between where all of those policies work together is being more run by political agenda and which group has the most power at that time, and that's why it keeps getting blown in the wind versus there being solid, clear, established rules, as we are able to see here in regions like in the East, where, like I told you, family and children are, they are first in the law and the way that they build their social structures. You guys, on that note, I really have to go because yeah, I have um I have a lot of stuff I got to get done today, and
Well, make
I'm getting a
sure,
phone call right in the middle of our show for it.
okay.
So yeah, some people are waiting for some documents.
Make sure you confirm the title for next week on Thursday so I can prepare myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I did so
Maybe
I
we
can
can,
totally,
if I mean, I feel like MD, didn't get a chance to really like bring in some of his ideas. Maybe we can continue this.
that's on MD. MD. See, MD be traveling, so
Yeah. Okay.
his no, he loves the
Well,
shows.
we'll
You know,
check it out, and we'll see if
yeah.
that's where he would like to go, because we really didn't even dig into Andrew Tate, but I know we've got lots to cover on these situations because this can go into so many different
Okay,
situations, especially like, you know, at what point is this considered, framing someone? So, yeah, that was my question I wanted to ask you tonight. So I didn't get a chance to. But on that note, I really have to go because people are waiting downstairs and waiting
okay,
for documents um, for me to
okay,
send today. So I got to get that out. But
okay.
yeah, I appreciate you guys so much.
All right. MD, did you catch that, or were you breaking up? She was basically she wanted to do a part two with you on here. And I told her, based on your schedule. Oh, see, he's traveling again.
Yeah, it's like cutting out.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
he's
So on
yeah
that note,
okay,
you guys, yeah, can figure it
okay,
out and just leave me, a line, and I'll know what's going on.
okay, okay.
Okay. I feel like there's something crawling on me too.
Oh, get the bug spray. All right.
Yeah, it's hot today, so
Yeah,
weird
get the
bugs
bug
are
spray.
coming out.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, get the
yeah,
raid.
yeah.
Yes.
I think we're close to 50 today.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
So, yeah.
Cool.
All right.
All right, Ninja Mom. All right. With that, man, I want to give a shout out to everybody, man. Shout out to
Yeah.
Deacon. Shout out to MD. Shout out to Erica. Shout out to Nature Mom. Oh, wait. We got MD coming back in here. Shout out to
Yeah.
Deacon again.
And can I give a shout out to Junior on his birthday? Happy birthday, Junior.
Yes. Yes. I think MD, can you hear us? MD. Damn.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Okay, then. Okay, Nature Mom.
Okay. All
All right.
right. Bye,
Okay.
guys.
Yeah, it's breaking up on my end.
MD. MD. Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's breaking up on my end.
Okay, MD. Okay, no problem. No problem. Hey, Nate. I don't know if you can hear me, but Nature Mom wanted to continue this next week, and I said just based on your schedule, uh, I don't know if 11:30 is good for you, but we do want to continue this.
It said I got full ball now.
Uh-oh. Okay, yeah, he's mobile right now. So again, MD is coming from another state, and he's on the road. So again, oh shit. Okay, y'all. So before I go out, okay, MD's coming back. Okay. Okay, MD, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah. MD, can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, yeah. It was breaking up when Nature Mom was back. I don't know what
Okay,
she said.
okay. Well, no, she said she wanted to continue this conversation next week, and you were breaking out, but I was saying, man, it's 11:30 because I know you were changing your schedule, but on Sunday, I don't know what your schedule looked like.
I mean, yeah, I'm usually free. I mean, I'm going to go pick up my son
Right.
in Tennessee, so I'm in the
Okay.
boonies.
Well, yeah, that's what I was telling her. That's what I was telling her. You're in between states right now, but I told her you probably wouldn't mind.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I should be in the building.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right, all right. Um, truck life. Yeah, that's right, Deacon. Trucker life. Deacon said trucker life.
Yeah, I ain't in my truck right now, so
Oh,
hell,
oh,
I don't never catch a break nowhere. I'm still moving.
right, right, right. Hey, hey, we get it. We understand. We understand. Shout out to MD, man. Shout out to MD on that road. All right. MD, you got anything scheduled for later?
Nah, nah, man. I got this road trip, man. When I get back home, I'm going to sleep. So
Okay.
nah, not today.
Okay, tenfold,
Not
tenfold.
today.
Um, yeah, I might. I don't know. I'm thinking about doing something maybe later. I don't know for sure. It just depends on how I feel. I might have to do a quick research on demonology so I can school somebody real quick. Uh oh, you
All
breaking
right.
up. Uh oh, you breaking up.
Yeah, I'm bro.
Okay, no problem, no problem. All right, man. Shout out to MD. I think he's. Uh oh. Yes. Oh, Deacon, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? Oh yeah, got the school. Got the school. Got the school, Miss Parrish today. Got to school Alberta Parish on Demonology 101. After this schooler, and I'm gonna have to really break down the chemical breakdown on that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to break it down today. I guess the first breakdown wasn't good enough, so I'm gonna have to break it down. So yeah, and in fact, I'm gonna have to put her name in the title so she can attend. Get the link. Yeah. So with that being said, hey, I'm gonna close it out. MB, I don't know if you can hear me, man. I'm gonna close it out.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Okay, okay.
No, like I said, I ain't got nothing planned, man. I might do a thought box here and there,
Okay.
sometime during the week.
Doing okay, okay. So nothing planned for tonight though.
Nah, nah, nah.
Okay, okay, okay. Like I said, I might do something tonight. But yeah. All right. With that being said, man, we out, y'all, man. Shout out to MD, shout out to Nature Mom, shout out to Deacon, shout out to Erica, authentically Erica. Shout out, man. And with that being said, we out, y'all. Peace.